Hi guys, it is Tiny Little Whispers ASMR and welcome to today's video. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about a company called Ana Luisa. So Ana Luisa is a jewelry brand where they create very unique pieces of jewelry. I'm currently wearing 3 of their pieces right now. But the amazing thing is, while Ana Luisa has these unique jewelry pieces, they are also a carbon neutral company as well. I am very impressed with their jewelry, and I absolutely am obsessed with all of their styles. They currently have a 20% off sale going on for you guys, so check out the link in the description box down below. I'm not sure how long the sale will be going on for, but I know it won't last long. So definitely go check that out if you are interested. The 3 pieces that I received, I'm sure you guys can't see them well, so I'll do some close-ups, were the Toda earrings, and I really like how these are a double hoop earring, and so it kind of mimics the effect that I have a double piercing, even though I don't, too afraid to get that done now for some reason, but it mimics that effect. I also got their Willow Necklace, which is a double chained necklace. However, there's only one clasp in the back, which makes a huge difference because it does not get tangled up or anything like that throughout the day. And then I also got the Laurie chain link necklace, and I really like this one. It is so tiny and delicate, but just has a nice little bit of sparkle. I wore it the other day with a black v-neck sweater and really loved the look. So once again, I would highly recommend checking out that link down below. Ana Luisa has some great high quality pieces, whether they are for yourself or for someone else. Their jewelry starts at $39, and let me tell you, this will definitely last you a long time. It is some of the nicest jewelry that I have ever owned. It does not tarnish and it does not tangle or break, so very high quality. Once again, I would highly recommend checking them out. Alright, last thing before we dive further into today's true crime case. Obviously, this is a soft spoken video, so if you are interested in hearing the whisper version of this video, look down below. I will have this available on my Patreon, which will be linked down below as well. So the whisper version will be available on Patreon, and then I will be back with another whisper video here on YouTube next week. Alright, so today we are discussing the case of Barbara May Tucker. So in the year 1980, Barbara Tucker was 19 years old. Barbara had grown up in Portland, Oregon with her parents, Albert and Louise Tucker, and her siblings. I was unable to find all of Barbara's siblings' names or her exact birth date, so that is why they are not included in today's video. Barbara graduated from Cleveland High School in Portland, and after doing so, Barbara decided to go to Mount Hood Community College to further her schooling. Mount Hood Community College was just over 30 minutes away from the home where Barbara's parents lived. Barbara's parents were at first hesitant for her to move out to Mount Hood College. However, they trusted Barbara and knew that she would excel at school. When Barbara moved out to school, she moved into some apartments that were right next to the school, and a lot of students lived in these apartments as well. It was very easy to walk to the school there. The students did have to cross a larger road. I believe it was about 4 lanes of traffic. However, there were plenty of lights and crosswalks that the students were able to use to gain access to the community college there. Now at the time, I don't believe that Barbara had a car, so she would often walk to all of her classes unless she was catching a ride with a friend. And the campus was fairly small. It was not a huge, massive school or anything like that, so it was very easy for her to get around. Barbara had decided to attend Mount Hood to play basketball and to also study business management. After Barbara started school at Mount Hood, however, she realized that the basketball was taking up a bit too much of her time and cutting into her life, so she decided to stop playing basketball for her school so that she could instead focus more on her degree and just hang out with her friends a bit more. Barbara was very well known around the Mount Hood campus, and she had a ton of friends there as well. Barbara did extremely well in school, and during the summers she worked for Sears, and her plan was that after she graduated she would work in retail, and she was slated to graduate in the spring of the year 1980. In January of the year 1980, Barbara had a class every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. Now this class was a part of her business degree, and it was called Credit Procedures. On Tuesday, January the 15th, Barbara was to attend this class, as was her usual. Before her class, Barbara ended up talking to her mother, Louise, on the phone. Barbara told Louise that she was hoping her class would end a bit earlier in the evening, and she did not want it to run until 10 p.m. that night. She said that if her class got out a bit earlier, she was going to head over to a friend's apartment to have some ice cream and just hang out with a few people. Barbara and her mother Louise eventually ended their conversation, and they had plans to talk in the near future. Sadly, that night, Barbara would never make it to her evening class. That evening, Barbara's professor, Ed Sawyers, thought it was odd that Barbara had missed class, as she rarely ever missed classes, And if she was to miss a class, there was always a good reason, and she would usually alert her professor prior to the class. But at the time, he didn't think too much of it. It was January, and it was a very cold and rainy night, so it assumed that that was why Barbara was not in attendance. Maybe she just wasn't feeling up for the long walk across campus. However, the next morning, it became evident that Barbara did not miss class on purpose. The next day, on Wednesday, January the 16th, at 8 a.m. in the morning, a student from Mount Hood College was walking towards their classes when they noticed something unusual poking out of a little wooded and shrubby area near the Mount Hood College campus. The student walked over, and there they sadly found the remains of a woman. The student that found the remains went and called the authorities, and they came out right away. The police investigated and quickly determined that the remains belonged to Barbara Tucker. Barbara had been assaulted and then had been beaten to death. The police began to look into who Barbara knew and what possibly could have caused her untimely death. Barbara was found near a lake on the campus, and it had been determined that where Barbara was found was exactly on the path to where she would have been walking to her evening class. So it was a direct route kind of between her apartment and where her class would have been. The police searched the nearby area for clues and asked the public for help to see if anyone had happened to see Barbara that night shortly before her 7 p.m. class was to have begun. The authorities did find Barbara's purse and books nearby, indicating that she was indeed walking to her night class when she was attacked. After reaching out to the public, the police found that there were several witnesses who had seen Barbara just before 7 p.m. that evening. Several witnesses say they saw Barbara coming out of a wooded area along the highway, which this was the major road I was talking about that students needed to cross in order to get to the community college. So there was this wooded area kind of right next to the road, some woods, some shrubs, not heavily wooded, but just a few trees there. And these witnesses claim that Barbara appeared to be waving at various cars. A lot of these witnesses say it looked as though Barbara was just waving, trying to get the attention of someone. One witness said that they had to swerve to avoid hitting Barbara as she kind of ran out of the wooded area and into the road a bit. Other witnesses claim that they saw what could have possibly been dirt or blood on Barbara's face. And yet another witness said that they saw Barbara running out of the wooded area, and then she was led back into a shrubby area by an unknown male. None of these witnesses stopped to help Barbara, and none of these witnesses called the authorities. All of the people that saw Barbara that night knew they were next to a college, and they knew kind of some crazy stuff would happen here at this school, and they just assumed it was, a person trying to wave at their friends, or some type of prank or joke. And it breaks my heart to hear that all of these witnesses saw Barbara in the moments before and even during her attack and did absolutely nothing to help her. At the same time, I realized that back then these witnesses did not have cell phones, so it would have been a lot more difficult to have to make that call, and maybe they were not headed to a place with a phone. I'm not sure, but once again, it makes me so sad that no one stopped to help or called the cops. Sadly, none of the witnesses got a good look at the unknown male who was seen leading Barbara back into that wooded, shrubby area, so the police truly had nothing to go off of. Unfortunately, no one came forward with any meaningful evidence, and so Barbara's case went cold rather quickly. Fast forward to the year 2015. All of a sudden, Barbara's case, while it has been cold for quite some time, they assigned a new detective, Aaron Turnage, to her case just to see if anything could have been found out. There was some physical evidence that had been collected in this case, and also some DNA as well. And so the police thought, why not try one more time to find out who killed Barbara May Tucker. Aaron worked alongside Cece Moore, who entered the DNA evidence that was found in Barbara's case into a genetic database. Luckily, even though in the year 1980, testing and using DNA evidence wasn't possible, there were still some samples collected, and this truly helped break open this case. Aaron and Cece, while they did enter the DNA found into that genetic database, there was not a match right away. It did take several years. However, a match for the DNA that was found eventually came up. The authorities were then alerted that a man named Robert Plimpton was a match for the DNA. So inside the genetic database, it had been several family members, whether related directly to Robert or further on down the line. Somewhere in there, a few people had submitted their DNA for some genetic testing, various things like that, and that is how this DNA was matched up to Robert Plimpton. So Robert was arrested in June of the year 2021 for the murder of Barbara. At the time of his arrest, Robert was 57 years old, and he was married and even had a son of his own. At the time that Barbara was murdered, Robert Plimpton had only been 16 years old, and he was even in high school. So he was, not an adult or anything, he was young. However, the judge wanted to try Robert as an adult, just since so much time had passed. Robert has pled not guilty to murdering Barbara. However, his DNA was at the crime scene, and he lived less than 2 miles away from the crime scene. So, at first after hearing that and reading that, I thought, interesting. Maybe Robert really had nothing to do with this. Maybe his DNA just happened to be there. There's ways that we can transfer our DNA all over the place. However, after hearing the next little bit of information, I was very taken aback and thought, wow, he really does have a higher chance of being guilty. Because after looking at Robert a bit further, the police found that he has been convicted 3 times of 4th-degree assault, and he has also been convicted of kidnapping on 2 separate occasions. Let that sink in for a little bit. Clearly this guy's been caught several times for several bad things that he's done. So I would assume most likely that he is guilty in this case, especially since they do have the DNA there. Robert, however, is currently awaiting trial in jail, and his trial is scheduled to happen in the year 2023. I am beyond thankful that Barbara's family has some of the answers that they deserve. Some of her remaining siblings, they needed those answers. I really honestly don't know how Robert ended up in that situation. There's not a ton of information on this case available online, but I do think it is amazing and a wonderful thing how, DNA can really help solve some of these older cold cases. I'm thankful that Barbara's case was reopened and that Robert Plimpton does sit behind jail currently. I will be, trying to keep up with his trial whenever that does happen. I'm curious to see, what he said happened. Why was his DNA there? What's his reasoning for this? There's not any information out about that I could find right now, but I will definitely keep you guys posted once there is more information out there. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. And once again, check out that link down below to Ana Luisa, where you can receive 20% off their store. Highly would recommend it. I will see you guys in the next video, and I hope you have a wonderful day or evening. Goodbye.